welcome back to another episode of Chat About Tay. I'm your host, Bella, and in this episode, I'm going to be discussing where Taylor Swift falls in the rankings of 2025 artists and albums. So, this year was obviously very exciting for Taylor Swift with the release of Life of a Showgirl and the docuseries coming out next week. And personally, she made my Spotify Wrapped. She makes my Spotify Wrapped every single year. But I wanted to kind of discuss not only like my Wrapped, I'll go into my Wrapped as well, but I wanted to talk about the Spotify global and US rankings for 2025 because Taylor Swift did appear on those. And then I also wanted to discuss Rolling Stones as well and Billboard because I kind of like to do these like end of the year wrap ups and kind of just discuss like what happened throughout the year. So I guess we can start with my Spotify Wrapped. So I was honestly not very surprised by my Spotify Wrap. I never really am. So Spotify Wrapped does top 5. So for this year, my top artists were Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, and ABBA. I love ABBA. I listen to them all the time. Anytime an ABBA song comes on, I don't skip it. So they're always being played. So those are my top artists. And then for my top albums, I was also not surprised by this at all. So my number one album going down to number 5. Number 1 was actually Mayhem by Lady Gaga, then Life of a Showgirl, then Reputation, then 1989, then Lover, which is not surprising at all. And I'm not surprised that Reputation made number 3 because that's my favorite album by Taylor. And this year we were able to, guilt-free listen to her music. And prior to her getting her master's back, I wasn't really listening to Reputation much. I do have the songs on my iPod, but it's super old. So I was so excited that we could listen to Reputation again, guilt-free. So not surprised that made number 3. And then my top songs, this really was not surprising to me. And this was actually the first year in a while that Taylor Swift's music did not make my top 5 songs. But my top songs going from 1 to 5 are How Bad Do You Want Me by Lady Gaga. These are all from Lady Gaga's Mayhem album, by the way. So number 1 was How Bad Do You Want Me, then Abracadabra, then Love Drug, then Disease, then Garden of Eden. So those were my top songs. And I really was expecting How Bad Do You Want Me to be my number 1 song for the year, just because that's my favorite one on the album. And the reason why I think, and this is a sentiment that I have for the whole podcast and everything I'm going to discuss. The reason why I don't think Taylor's music made it was because Mayhem came out in March. So I've been streaming that for quite some time. And then also Taylor's album didn't come out until October. So The Life of a Showgirl in general just didn't do as well throughout all of these different lists, I think, because it was released so late. And, some people, maybe that's all they listen to or they only listen to Taylor Swift's music. So obviously that would be like on their top. But I'm not surprised that none of her songs made it to my top 5 just because of the fact that Lady Gaga's album came out earlier and her album came out so late in the year. So that's kind of why I think Life of a Showgirl maybe on paper just didn't do as well in the global charts and everything, just because it came out later. So those were my top albums, top songs, and top artists. And my minutes listened was 21,350 minutes. And then my top genre was actually dance pop. And then I don't know if they've done this before, but they calculated your listening age, which I thought was really funny. And so my listening age is actually 61 because I listen to a lot of early 80s music. So I thought that was really fun. My sister's age was in like the 40s because she listens to a lot of like 90s music. So I thought that was a cool thing that Spotify did this year. So yes, Taylor Swift is still my number 1 artist. I spent 5,948 minutes listening to her, which makes me a top 0.6% global fan. So very happy about that. And then whoever is your top artist, you do get a little message from them on Spotify. So I got her a little message and it was really sweet. And she discussed just how, she was grateful for us listening to her album and that she was excited for the docuseries. So that was where Taylor Swift falls on my Spotify Wrapped. But then going to the global charts and domestic charts for Spotify overall. So Spotify every year posts their top songs. So basically like all of Spotify collectively, what were the top songs, top artists, all of that information. And so there's more than 700 million listeners. So this is all data from all of those people who have Spotify accounts. So once again, they say that Bad Bunny is Spotify's global top artist. So he has claimed this title in 2020, 2021, 2022, and in 2025. So awesome for Bad Bunny. I like him a lot. I don't really listen to a whole lot of his music, but I do like him like as a person. But I'm actually going to give him a try and see if I like his music because I think he's really cool. So top 10 artists globally. So they do top 10 versus top 5 for your own Wrapped. So these are the top global artists for 2025. So we're going from 1 to 10. So Bad Bunny, Taylor Swift, she was number 2. Then The Weeknd, Drake, Billie Eilish, Kendrick Lamar, Bruno Mars, Ariana Grande. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce the last 2 people. I apologize for that. So those were the top artists. The last 2 people I've never heard of before. But obviously global, that's everywhere. So those were probably popular in other countries. So I apologize again for not being able to pronounce their names. And then the top 10 songs globally, going from 1 to 10, we have Die With a Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish, Apt by Rose and Bruno Mars, Ordinary by Alex Warren, DTMF by Bad Bunny, Back to Friends by Somber, Golden by the K-pop Demon Hunters cast, Luther featuring SZA with Kendrick Lamar, That's So True, Gracie Abrams, and Wildflower, Billie Eilish. So Billie Eilish and Bruno Mars had 2 songs on the top 10 global songs for 2025. So that's pretty cool. But no Taylor Swift. Again, I think that this is because Life of a Showgirl came out so late in the year and people kind of stream her music. She has so many albums that I don't think like one specific song by her was gonna dominate over all these new songs. And I think if she released the album probably before the summer of this year, I could see Fate of Ophelia being on this list. But because it was released so late, it does make sense why she didn't make this list. And then top albums globally, so going from 1 to 10, we have Bad Bunny's album, then K-pop Demon Hunters, Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish, SZA's album, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter, Mayhem by Lady Gaga, Alex Warren's You'll Be Alright Kid, Morgan Wallen, I'm the Problem, Kendrick Lamar's album, and another album by Bad Bunny. So Bad Bunny had number 1 and number 10 spot on top global. So obviously that would make sense why he was the top artist globally. And then going down to the US stats. So there are stats, I believe, for other countries, but I'm in the US, so I'm just going to be talking about the US one. So top 10 artists in the US for 2025, going from 1 to 10, we have number 1, Taylor Swift. So not surprised there, but because everybody listens to her music and she has so much music that it makes sense that she would be like the top artist, even if her songs or albums might not be in the top. So it makes sense. So number 2, Drake. Then we have Morgan Wallen, Kendrick Lamar, Bad Bunny. Number 5, 6, The Weeknd, then SZA, then Zach Bryan, then Tyler the Creator, then Kanye West at number 10. So very interesting. And then our top 10 songs in the US. So we have Luther with SZA by Kendrick Lamar, Die With a Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, Ordinary by Alex Warren, Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish, TV Off featuring Lefty Gunplay with Kendrick Lamar, Golden by the K-pop Demon Hunters, Back to Friends by Somber, Pink Pony Club by Chappell Roan was number 8, and then Timeless featuring Playboy Cardi by The Weeknd, and then number 10, No One Noticed by the Marinas. So definitely a good list. Kind of some of them were similar to what we had on the global charts as well. And then top 10 albums in the US, going from 1 to 10, we have I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen, SOS by SZA, Bad Bunny's new album, which I am not going to attempt to pronounce because I couldn't pronounce the other 2 names. So Bad Bunny's album, and then K-pop Demon Hunters, Kendrick Lamar's album, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter, So Close to What by Tate McRae, and then number 8 was Life of a Showgirl by Taylor Swift, and then another Morgan Wallen album, One Thing at a Time, and then number 10 is Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish. So that is where all of those rankings fall for Spotify. And again, I completely understand why globally she wasn't making the list as much, but domestically, in the US, her album Life of a Showgirl was number 8 on the top 10 albums. No songs made it to the top 10 list, but again, that's because it was released so late in the year. But she was number 1 for top artists in the US. So That's awesome. So I'm glad that she did make the list, even if it wasn't as much as maybe she would have made prior. And then globally, she's number 2. So, I mean, she's still dominating the charts, even if her, songs or albums might not be like on these lists. She just, as an artist in general, is always going to dominate. Then I also wanted to talk about the Rolling Stone lists because they released their top 100 albums and top 100 songs for the year. So these lists are not necessarily like data driven, I don't believe. I think these are just like based on of like Rolling Stone assessing albums and songs. So I'm not entirely sure like if it's just like, collectively like the people at Rolling Stone are deciding this or if they pool people. I'm not really sure, but they always decide their own stuff. So take it with a grain of salt because at the end of the day, it is still like an opinion. So for the top 100 albums of the year, Taylor Swift's Life of a Showgirl was listed at number 15. So I'm going to read the little description that they have on the website. So with her 12th studio album, the biggest pop star in the world shoots into a fresh echelon of superstardom and hits all her marks. From the first Fleetwood Mac-inspired drum roll and the melancholy keys of Fate of Ophelia, Taylor Swift and Max Martin chart in a new sonic path to create a tight 12 tracks bursting with iridescent color. She's bolder than she's been, embodying a dick-slinging music mogul and father figure, topping herself in the tortured corniness department, and closing it out contemplating her next act on the show-stopping title track. Proof that despite the rock on her finger, she will always be married to the hustle. I really like that little play on words that they did. I just thought that was really cool. So she is number 15 for their top 100 albums of the year. And the number 1 album was Bad Bunny's album, the one that I can't pronounce. I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. Debí Tierra Más Fotos. I don't speak Spanish. I'm so sorry, Bad Bunny, that I just butchered that. But that was number 1 on the 100 albums for Rolling Stone, and then number 2 was Lady Gaga's Mayhem album. So obviously, like those two did really well on the other charts, but I'm not surprised that they did well here. And then for the top songs, so top 100 best songs of 2025, according to Rolling Stone, number 8 was Taylor Swift's Fate of Ophelia. So again, the little description says, the Fate of Ophelia is Taylor's biggest Swiftspearian drama since Love Story, rewriting Hamlet the way her teenage self wrote Romeo and Juliet. Just as she did in Love Story, she goes back in time to rescue a tragic young heroine and give her a new story. Except instead of country twang, she goes for thrillingly exuberant synth pop. Your English teacher took this bardcore romance to number 1 for 7 weeks and counting. That's just her way of keeping it 100 on the land, the sea, and the sky. Again, really love their little play on words that they do. They do these descriptions for everything, and I can't even imagine how much time all of this would have taken everyone at Rolling Stone to do. But the top 2 songs for Rolling Stone was number 1, their top song was Abracadabra by Lady Gaga, and then their number 2 was Dancing in the Club by MJ Letterman and This Is Lorelei. I've literally never heard of that. When I was looking through, because I did actually go through the entirety of the top 100 songs and albums, because I just wanted to see like what everything was, I did not know half of them. So that makes me believe that I'm either, really selective about what I listen to, or that they were also pulling things from like other countries, because like a lot of these people like I just never heard of, and I think that they were probably from other countries. So could be one way or the other. And then Apple Music also had their top songs as well, and Taylor Swift does not appear on any of the lists for Apple Music. So top songs, top Shazammed songs, top global radio, and top lyrics, and top songs that people are singing to, I guess. None of those songs by Taylor Swift or anything with Taylor Swift related made it onto these lists. There was a lot of Lady Gaga, Kendrick Lamar, Billie Eilish, Rosé and Bruno Mars. So those were kind of more dominating. But again, she released her album way too late in the year to be, featured on these lists. So, I mean, it's not like her album did bad or anything. It's just comparatively, she just didn't do as well this year. But still, with that being said, she made 15 and 8 on those top 100. So she did breach the top 20 and then top 10 as well. And then for Spotify, she was number 1 and number 2. So it's just however you look at the data, And then I'm also going to be looking at Billboard. So Billboard Music didn't really necessarily do like a wrap up but their current charts are on their website. You can see their current charts for everything. So top charts for the Billboard Hot 100, Taylor Swift's Fate of Ophelia is number 1. Billboard Top 200, The Life of a Showgirl is the number 3 album. And then Billboard globally, number 1 is Fate of Ophelia. So she is still doing very well. It's just really based on how you look at the data, how you interpret the data, and what specific data you're gathering. And then the top 100 artists, Taylor Swift is number 2. And then of the current week, nothing is by her, but I mean, All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey is number 2. And then for genres, for pop, Fate of Ophelia is the number 1 song. And, you know, she's still doing very, very well on these top charts. So like I said, Billboard 200, Life of a Showgirl is number 3. The top artists, 100 artists, she's number 2. Streamed songs, number 1 is Fate of Ophelia. Radio songs, Fate of Ophelia is number 2. Digital song sales, Fate of Ophelia is number 1. Top albums, Life of a Showgirl is number 4. Top streaming albums, Life of a Showgirl is number 2. Vinyl albums, Life of a Showgirl, number 3. And I mean, she is really still dominating, despite, you know, where she falls on these lists. But I think what we can gather here is that Taylor Swift, all in all, has really dominated 2025 in general. She dominates music. Even if she's not listed as number 1 for like every single thing, she's normally on all of these lists. She wasn't on the Apple ones, but all the other ones, she was on the lists. She has made an impact. I mean, this album is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, for the upcoming Grammys in 2026, she will not be considered because she didn't release any music within the cutoff period. So 2026 Grammys, she's not going to be there, but she might, you know, be in attendance, but she won't be nominated or anything. But for 2027, I can definitely see Life of a Showgirl, Fate of Ophelia, you know, a lot of these songs and stuff being nominated for awards. So I'm looking forward to next year and 2027 to see what accolades she gets for Life of a Showgirl. So that was it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed hearing about where Taylor Swift falls on the 2025 rankings. I hope you are inspired to listen to not just her albums, but some other artists as well. And as always, stay safe, stay classy, and I'll chat again with you soon. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find us on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. See you there.